Hey everybody, this is Michael with Asymmetrical Preparedness here with Animal Man Survivor doing a live stream. Everybody in the comments, or not everybody, but maybe a couple people give me a thumbs up if you can hear us and see us and everything looks okay. This is the first time me doing a StreamYard live stream, so it appears it just showed up on my YouTube feed, so it looks like it's actually getting to YouTube where it's supposed to be. Yeah, okay, it looks like we are live, and 3 people are watching now.
Right.
So I'll wait. I'll kind of ramble for a couple seconds until somebody gives me a thumbs up that we're all good to go, and then I'll let Animal Man start with his introduction.
Okay.
So yeah, we're just going to talk about a bunch of random topics. This is Animal Man. I was under the assumption, because I didn't get a chance to watch too many of his videos, that he was more into bushcraft and survival, but turns out he's into well-rounded prepper, doing all the things, homesteading and all the stuff like that. Echo feedback. Yeah, my thing is muted. I don't know why I have feedback. I hear it too, though. Sound is scrambled. Let me see if I can do something about the sound. Audio. All right, sorry, I'm still working here. Okay, any better? I don't know, maybe I need to move the camera further from me. Or something like that, maybe. Your computer microphone is on. No, it's off. I double checked that. Let me triple check it. Sorry for the. Oh, there. Is that better? I don't know if it sounds any better.
It's all part of the process.
I don't know. I may just have to deal with it. I can hear it. I don't know what's going on. Maybe if I shut up and Animal Man starts talking, it'll get better.
It's all part of Murphy's Law, right?
Welcome, Animal Man. Tell us about yourself.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it. I'm excited about this. I saw your little video you posted today about this. I was just like scrolling through my YouTube feed, chilling out in the garden after work, and that popped up, and I was like, "What? Whoa!" It's kind of cool. I got all giggly. So I'm very excited to be here, man. Thanks for having me, and I think this will be a lot of fun. What do we have? Probably about an hour and a half, you think?
Yeah,
is that about?
We'll play it by ear, whatever works for you.
I watched your live stream with Bear, and that was about an hour and a half. So I was kind of like figuring, okay, about right. So so I'll do a little intro about myself. So my name is Matt. I have the channel Animal Man Survivor because I'm known as the Animal Man. I run 2 businesses. So Animal Man Survivor is my survival skills and prepping skills business, and I travel around. People hire me, on a personal level to come and teach them things. I do once a month around here. I bring local people on wild edible plant walks and teach about wild edible medicinal and utility plants. And then a lot of libraries hire me for either the teens or the adults, and I teach various different skills courses there too. And then I teach on YouTube also. I've also got the Facebook, the Instagram, the Patreon, all that good stuff. My main job right now, my other business, is called Animal World Experience, and I've got a YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and everything for that too. So I do live animal presentations. I teach about exotic animals from around the world. I talk about local wildlife. I teach responsible pet ownership, about conservation. I've got about 80 different exotic animals here at my house that live inside my house in 2 animal rooms. I have a furry animal room and a reptile room, 5 indoor ponds, and I have all kinds of stuff. I have alligators, crocodiles, big snakes, 4-foot lizards, turtles, tortoises, hedgehog, ferret, sugar glider. I have a kinkajou, which is like a South American raccoon. We just got an opossum, tarantula, scorpions, just all kinds of crazy stuff. And I travel all around Massachusetts and all of New England, basically. And I do educational presentations. And I do anywhere from 1 to up to like 4 or 5 of those a day. So that's my main gig right now. And the businesses actually kind of complement each other. And I opened that up in 2006. And when the pandemic hit, though, man, I pretty much shut down totally. And just recently, the last month, I'm starting to get customers trickling back, and things are picking back up, which is good because I was very, very nervous. So that's pretty much what I do. And I live in Massachusetts, about a half hour south of Boston. You're in Washington, right? Oh, I don't know what happened.
Sorry.
Microphone. There you go. You muted yourself. Okay, sorry.
Yep.
So I'm on the other side of the country. So I moved here when I was 20. I grew up in New York, moved here when I was 20, and I have a house here with about an acre of property. And we're kind of slowly transforming it into a little homestead. We have multiple gardens. We have 26 fruit trees. We grow 5 different kinds of grapes. I grow different kinds of cactuses, hardy kiwi vines, blueberries, strawberries, mulberries, just all kinds of stuff. And then we have 13 chickens. We raise meat rabbits. I do quails also. And in the summertime, some of my animals come outside, like my tortoises go outside in the pen in the summer and stuff like that. So that's kind of what it's like here. Do you want to hear about like how I got involved in all this prepping and survival kind of stuff, and like what my history is with that?
Yeah, definitely. That's a great way to start off, because I'm having to restart my computer anyway. I don't know what happened, so I can't see comments right now anyway. So I apologize to anybody making comments. Moderators, please help out. Actually, first, before you start that, I want to give a shout out to Craddy Homesteader. She is a wonderful, wonderful lady. My first moderator, and she is very wonderful. She has lupus, like my wife does. So if any of you guys out there can pray for her, I would really appreciate it. She's a wonderful lady. She's unfortunately all alone in not a very good situation, and can't do a lot of things by herself. So please send some prayers her way. Let's lift her up.
Absolutely.
You can go ahead. All right.
Okay. Does she have a YouTube channel too?
No.
Okay.
No, okay. She's just been on my subscriber to me for a long time. She's a patron, and she's just a wonderful lady.
Okay. All right. Great. Cool shout out. All right. How many people do we have watching now, by the way? I can't see any of that stuff.
Yeah, Mike. Oh, 31.
31. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Cool. All right. So, my background. So, like I said, I grew up in New York, and when I was a kid, I was into Cub Scouts, and my parents have an acre of property with a bunch of woods behind it and on the side, and like I was kind of different than all my other friends. Like they always come over after school and want to play Nintendo. To show you how old I am. And I'd always want to be out in the backyard, finding animals and garter snakes and forts in the woods and stuff. And it got to the point where like I'd have friends over. I remember like I had a friend over, and it'd be after school. It was the winter and it was snowing out. We were trying to build a thatched hut out in the woods, and he kept on complaining about how cold it was. And I turn around and I see he's in the house with my mom, and she's making him hot chocolate, and then I'm getting yelled at. So that's kind of what it was like for me growing up. My Uncle Tom, that recently passed away, he was the president of a hunting club in upstate New York, and he would bring my dad and I up there all the time, and they had like 300 acres. And I would just go crazy. That's where I kind of learned to hunt, and we go fishing and all kinds of stuff there. So that was a big part of it also. And when I was probably about 12, my dad bought me a survival book called Tom Brown's Guide to Wilderness Survival. I don't know. Have you ever heard of Tom Brown and his survival school, Tracker School?
The Tom Brown doesn't ring a bell.
Okay.
Specifically, so
that's all right. Anyway, so my dad bought me this book, and this book like had everything I ever wanted to know about the woods, and I became obsessed with this book. And I'd be out in the yard, building all kinds of shelters and doing friction fires with a bow drill in the backyard, and collecting wild edibles and making spears and bow and arrows, and I was like totally hooked, like in a hardcore way. So that's kind of how I grew up, doing all that kind of stuff. And then I moved here when I was 20. I met a girl on a camping trip. Ended up moving up here to be with her when I was 20, and then we got married, bought the house here, and we have a son together. My oldest son's 11. And what got me into prepping was becoming a father. That was the big event that kind of did it for me. Like I always kind of knew in the back of my mind, things might go sideways and that kind of thing. And I always kind of felt that my wilderness skills and hunting skills or whatever, if things got crazy like that, like in a movie, like I'd be okay. But becoming a father, it made me realize that, I'm responsible for this little guy, and the skills that I had might not be enough, and I needed to learn more and push myself. So when my ex-wife was pregnant with him, right before, like a month or two before he was born, I went to a week-long survival course at Tracker School, which is in New Jersey in the Pine Barrens. And that really just made my skills take off from there. And then 2 years later, I went back for a week-long advanced course. And that course teaches you to survive anywhere in North America, starting with nothing, for long-term survival. And that really did it for me. And I got into things even more. And I've taken a few other, classes here and there and stuff like that. But that's pretty much what did it. At the same time, I don't know if you've had this thing when you first got into prepping where you have like this initial freak out moment where you just panic and start buying stuff and start doing things, and then all of a sudden you realize that you're like doing things the wrong way and you wasted all this money and this time, and you need to like focus more on skills and that kind of thing. So I went through all that. At the same time, my wife at the time was not into any of this. She despised anything having to do with preparedness. She thought I was crazy. She would tell me constantly I'm crazy. She was just very controlling, and anything having to do with the outdoors, she was against. She wouldn't let me hunt. She wouldn't let me bring my guns here from my parents' house. Wouldn't let me get my concealed carry permit. The only time I could go out in the woods was when she wasn't around. In the summer, she and my son would go to, her family had a cottage down in Cape Cod, and they would go there for like a week, and I had to be home to work. And after work, I would just go out in the woods and play, and I'd go on like 3-day survival outings, just bring a knife and just go crazy. And that was like playtime for me. And it's kind of funny because like now thinking about it, it's easy to say, well, if she had been on board, I could have gotten so much further than I am now. But at the same time, having to do things that way and hide things from her, which I'm not proud of, but I had to, because I felt in my gut that I needed to do this, because I'm protective. Doing it that way, I think, is part of the reason why I'm as good as I am at my skills right now. Having to do things so she didn't know I was doing them. Plant things around the yard, and she didn't know I planted them. And I have underground caches on our property. She had no idea they were there, and she would walk over them. And people would walk over them. They had no idea. So I'd be doing all these things when she was away, basically. So that's kind of the background. I mean, I can delve more into that as we go if you want, but for now, I mean, that's the short of it, pretty much.
Yeah, that's an awesome experience.
Yeah.
I'm hoping the sound is better now. I did get my computer restarted, although it does sound garbled still. I don't know. Maybe I'll have to do it inside. Maybe that background noise from across the way is affecting me more than I thought. My closest neighbor over there I think he's pressure washing or something. So I apologize to you guys for the sound. I'll figure it out somehow. Please bear with us. And there, oh gosh. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's a difficult thing to prepare when your spouse isn't on board. My wife has always been pretty like on, like at least a little bit on board. Now she's totally on board. But yeah, there were some things like that I had to do also, kind of around, doing things. I wasn't like hiding it. I was just like buying a couple extra things, something like that. And or I think there was a time or two where she caught me sneaking stuff out of the pantry to put in prep. My wife is very supportive now. I don't know. Kathy Howe asked. I don't know who she was asking. So my wife is totally supportive now, 100%. Sometimes I got to tell her to slow down. But how about you, Insta? How is your wife? You know, what is she like now?
So I'm divorced now. Thank
Okay.
goodness. It's things with her got so bad. Like it began when I moved here, when I moved in with her into her apartment with her, the controlling thing, and she was like different. And it was just constant control. She controlled what I did, where I worked, who I talked to, who my friends were, who my Facebook friends were. I couldn't talk to anybody she didn't know also. And like she would constantly be what's the word? Constantly be threatening you with divorce. I mean, we're talking 20, 30 times over stupid stuff. It would be like she would be yelling at our son for something that was something silly, and she would go way overboard, and I'd chime in as a dad, and she didn't want me to say anything, and she'd be like, you don't get to say, talk over me or whatever, and I want a divorce. She when I talked to a customer, she'd think there was something going on, and she'd be like, I want a divorce. And she actually went and got divorce papers, filled them out, threw them at me 3 times, 3 occasions, and I refused to fill them out. And it was just constant mental abuse, emotional abuse, sometimes physical abuse, and she was throwing me out all the time, which is part of how I got really good at the survival stuff, because she would be so abusive, and she'd be attacking me, and I would just go to bed, and she'd wake me up, throwing me off the couch, ripping the pillow out from under my head, screaming at me, throwing stuff, and I would walk out. And she would just call me constantly on my phone, so it got to the point where I'd leave my phone there, and then she knew I was going to leave when she was supposed to take my wallet, so I couldn't leave. So I was like, I don't need that either. So I walked out into the woods. I'd build a camp, and I'd be there until whenever I felt like coming back. And because I knew that would really tick her off, because she couldn't get a hold of me and couldn't control me. So that's kind of what pushed my skills. It's weird, but it's probably a very unique story too. That's what pushed my skills. I would be in the dead of winter, go out, build a debris hut in the snow, and I'd sleep. And I conceal my tracks and everything. So this got so bad. About 2016 is when I filed for divorce finally, and I was mortified to do that, mainly because of my son. I didn't want my son to go through this. But I went on a trip to Vermont to teach some wilderness skills, and we were at a cell reception, so she couldn't reach me. And I was with like all these people that were kind of like-minded and up in the woods, camping out for 4 days, had the time of my life. And I get home, I had like 27 missed calls, dozens of text messages, and she was pissed that she couldn't reach me and thought that something was going on, that I was cheating on her or something crazy. So I get home with all these new Facebook friend requests from all these people that I met that wanted to hire me to do wild edible plant walks and stuff. And she logged onto my Facebook without me knowing, saw them all, and she kind of hands me my computer and she goes, delete all these people because I don't know them or I want a divorce. And I'm like, you know what? I'm done. I've always told you I would never do this to you. And if I ever threaten you with divorce, know that I mean it. And this is it. I'm telling you one time, I want a divorce. I'm done being treated like this, and I mean it. And she's like, well, then leave. So I said, okay. So I left. And that's what started it. And we've going through this horrible divorce for about 5 years now. In court, probably 30 times. She wanted my house. She wanted my businesses. She wanted my YouTube channels. She wanted the car. She wanted full physical and legal custody of my son. And I just fought her on everything, and I just played defense the whole time. And it was like Jerry Springer with her all the time, with all the accusations and her calling the police constantly, and her spying on me and going through my trash and just this and that. You wouldn't believe the stuff that went on. So that's part of why I haven't been posting on YouTube. because of all this nonsense with her. I didn't want to give her any other ammunition to use against me. My dad would say. But so my divorce got finalized during the pandemic, and I got everything. And that must have ticked her off so much that I don't know what she said to my son, but she said something to me, and he blames me for all of this, and he wants nothing to do with me more often. I haven't seen him in over a year now, and it's because of alienation. And I recently, over the winter, I did a contempt, which are contempt hearings coming up in 2 weeks. After that's over, that's when I'm going to start posting again. So I'm sorry for the long drawn out thing, but that, pretty much when she started gunning for me and trying to use my son as a weapon and taking him away, and he won't speak to me to her, I said I've to myself, I've kind of got to withdraw myself. I don't want to post anything crazy because the skills that I want to start sharing on YouTube are a lot more hardcore stuff than the stuff I posted before. I really want to start pushing stuff that I know, teach it. I really feel strongly time is up here because I need to start teaching people this stuff now. But I want to wait for all this is over so she can't be like, oh, look at this video, he's crazy, he shouldn't have his son or whatever. I mean, it scares the hell out of me,
Yeah. Yeah, you're coming across pretty garbled to me. Can you double check, make sure your like mics or stuff are off, just to make sure? I don't know. It may just be the internet. So I caught, I'd say 98% of what you said. So it's not too bad.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe that had more effect than I thought it did. I couldn't hear it, but maybe.
Yeah, I turned the thing off. Maybe that'll help. It's just, it started raining. It's like 100% humidity. It's so humid.
Okay, maybe that was just because you sound better now.
Okay.
So maybe that's what it was. Yeah, man, that sucks to be in a situation like that. Yeah, I had a first also that was alcoholic, and yeah, that's one of the main reasons why I absolutely despise alcohol. I do not use alcohol whatsoever. I'm not like, I don't get on to other people about it. I'm not like, I'm not, out there on a crusade or anything. It's just personally, I don't want it in my life and around my family. So, yeah, Mark Chase says sounds good now. So maybe that was it. Maybe we're good to go now.
I'm sorry, guys. All right.
Hopefully.
It's guilty.
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Whenever I'm looking over here, I'm not ignoring you. I was trying to look up an email because there was somebody that asked, one of my awesome subscribers was asking about being a moderator, and I forgot who it was. So, all right. So, yeah, so preparedness. You talked about all the homestead things you do, like raising animals, growing food and all stuff like that. That's impressive. That's you got way more going on than I do here. I just raised beds and everything like that. I started. And doing the best I can. There is more area for me to grow into here. So we may be growing into that also, and like raising chickens. But man, yeah, you sound like you got a lot going on. That's really cool. And I know that when you start kicking it up on YouTube again, yeah, that'll be awesome to see that. I really look forward to that. Like I forget if I said before this video, I tried to watch kids and everything like that. I didn't get a chance to really. I watched like most of one of your videos, so I really apologize to that. But from what I saw, you got a lot of good content, and that's
Thanks.
really cool. People are still saying echo is really bad. I don't know. Maybe that's me. I'm not sure. I'm sure we'll figure it out.
Over here, I've got guys across. There's a pond behind my house, and across the pond, they're having some kind of party with a DJ and music blasting. So I've got that going on over here now.
Oh, yeah.
So it's
maybe we're just cursed.
Yeah.
Maybe we're just cursed.
Like every time I try to film a video, the neighbor starts to mow the lawn, or there's a plane going through an airport. There's always something, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's one thing that's difficult. I always try to I'll film inside when I have to in my studio, which is the corner of like by my closet with the, you've seen, I don't know if you've seen the flags, the POWMIA flag, the American flag, and the camo netting. Um, but I prefer filming outside because I figure, I like the background. It's kind of cool, but I really like going out and showing and doing it in the garden and stuff like that. But yeah, sometimes you got to do that. So let me see. What is a good question for you?
Let me say this before you continue with your question, because you're asking about my wife. I'm engaged again now. My fiance's name is Shannon, and we have a 3-year-old son together. So I'm very, very thrilled to try, because like I loved being a family man and having kids and having a family. I've always wanted that, but it never kind of felt right because of how things were with my wife and I. And I'm looking at this like it's like my second chance to start over. I just wish there weren't all of the drama with my crazy ex and with my 11-year-old son and everything. But things with Shannon are great. She's totally on board with this. She is like my gardening guru and chicken mama. She takes care of the chickens. And our 3-year-old is awesome. And then Shannon has a 25-year-old son that moved in with us also. So between the two of us, we have 3 boys, 3 musketeers.
Okay. Let me know how the sound sounds now. Does it sound any better? Greg Bryson, thank you. I appreciate it. Super chat, awesome. You guys are awesome. I got a lot of good subscribers here, so I'm hoping that a bunch of my awesome subscribers here go over and subscribe to you. That'll be really cool. But sound is better because what I did is I went and I turned off the echo cancellation. Or some people are saying no. Yeah. I don't know. I got everything turned off I know of. So maybe I'll just spend most of the video muted and let you talk about stuff. Actually, since like I really like yeah.
What is that? What is that? I don't know that one.
It's sparkling water.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to quit soda.
I should.
There is one here. Okay, since it seems like it's on my end, I'll just try to shut up more. And the homestead things, describe or talk to us a little more about like all the stuff you're growing, maybe some hints, tips, things you found. Do you grow for caloric density? Do you grow for variety? Do you grow for the minerals, nutrients, and all the stuff like that in your diet? Kind of those things. So basically the garden aspect right now.
Okay. We started out by building a lasagna garden. If you don't know what a lasagna garden is, it's basically a layering system. So it's some version of you put cardboard or paper down, and then you do like a brown layer, which in our case is dead leaves, and then a green layer, which in our case is grass clippings. And then we put compost in, which for a couple of years when we started out, we used horse manure that we get for free from a local lady. But now we have all the rabbit turds we would ever want, so we use that. And then you just keep on doing this every year. You add a brown layer, a green layer, rabbit turds, and it builds the soil up every year. And the plants love it. I also went to the hardware store and I got like the soaker hose system, and we have it automatically irrigated on a timer, and that's buried in each bed. So the lasagna garden is a 30-foot diameter circle, and it's kind of like a pizza. It's got 8 wedge-shaped beds with a pathway with gravel in between each one. In the center, we have a table and chairs with an umbrella to sit out there, and tiki torches and all that cool stuff. And we rotate what we grow in the beds every year. We rotate it like one slice over. And, one bed will be, or 2 beds each year will be tomatoes. We do corn. We do all kinds of stuff. Squash, green beans grow very, very well here for us. And zucchini, and we do lettuce, all kinds of stuff. So that's what started this, and we did sunflowers too. They did great. And then every year we add more stuff on. We have 2 4x8 raised beds in front of our house now, and several other smaller beds. We have a 6x8 bed, which used to be my kid's sandbox, but we've pulled it up, carried it out front, and we're doing potatoes in there using the straw, growing it under straw for the first time as an experiment. We'll see how it goes. I think it's going to do great. And then I had a 2,000-gallon pond in the backyard that I built out of recycled materials for my turtles to go in and our koi for the summer. But I took that down, and I leveled it, built a stone wall, and I took down a bunch of trees. We put the rotted wood under there to level it, and we just finished putting the soil in there today, right before this video. And we're going to grow all kinds of other stuff in there, more tomatoes. A big thing we found, our tomatoes do great, but we had been using them fresh in salads, and when we had excess, we just put them in 1-gallon Ziplocs and freeze them in our chest freezer. And we decided to make our own pasta sauce for the first time over the winter. I used like 5 1-gallon bags of tomatoes to make pasta sauce for one meal for 5 people. And that's as far as it got. So we were like, oh man, we need way more tomatoes. So we're building this new bed this year because we need like tons of tomatoes. Same thing with potatoes. We need like tons more potatoes because all the potatoes we got were good for just a few meals, a few soups and stuff. So that's kind of where we're at with that. We love doing salads. When I did the quails, we had a lot of quails, and each quail was laying 1 little quail egg a day. And I love hard boiling those, and they're perfect to just put right in the salads whole. So we'd have an entire dinner from all stuff grown here, which is really, really cool. So that's exciting. And now our chickens are laying eggs like bananas, and we can't even use them all. So we're selling them to local friends and stuff like crazy, selling these chicken eggs. Also, the fruit trees. I have all kinds of different fruit trees here and berries. I've always wanted a house where my kids can be playing outside and just walk over and just start picking berries or pick an apple and eat it, or have their friends over and they can just like pick apples here, that kind of thing, you know. And I have a lot of animals too, my exotic animals also that like to eat fruits, and I feed my tortoises fresh salads and all kinds of stuff like that. So yeah, I hope that answered your question. I don't grow anything specifically as far as looking for calories. We just love our fresh salads. We grow popcorn for the kids because kids love, popcorn. I don't know.
All right, I don't know. Can you see chat?
No.
Oh, okay. So JM in the Nut House was asking, did you inoculate the straw with fertilizer before you planted it?
No, we Shannon's in charge of a lot of the garden stuff. I focus more on the animal husbandry stuff because that's what my job is basically anyway. But I do help with the gardening stuff and the planting, and I'm humping all the dirt and everything. But she's very, very specific with each type of plant, with what amendments she adds in, and she researches everything. I call her the Google Queen. And she will, like with the potatoes, she's very, very specific with each type of plant. That's weird. With what amendments she adds in, and she researches everything. I call her the Google Queen. And she will, stuff. Like with the potatoes, she's very, very specific with each type of plant. That's weird. What amendments she adds in, and she researches everything. I call her the Google Queen.
Sorry. Never mind. Okay, never mind. Sorry. I didn't realize I was paying attention to my laptop that was lagging. So that's why I was like silent for a sec. I was trying to turn this sound off, turn that sound on, so maybe it would work in conjunction, but that's lagging. And so I have to be on here with this sound. I tried turning it down a little bit, hoping that I'll get less feedback.
No worries, man.
Let me see. Overwatch said, thanks for introducing. You seem like a great dude you can learn from. Yeah, it sounds like you got a lot going on to learn from. That's pretty cool. Sound is sucking. Yeah, I don't know what that is. I'll try to do some more research in between now and my next live stream. So won't help out animal, but it'll help out hopefully whoever else is next on that I'm trying to schedule and everything. All right, yeah. So yeah, that's one thing we do. We have some. We're not raising animals yet, but we have neighbors and people around us that raise chickens and bring us eggs all the time. And then it's informal thing. They'll bring them over to us whenever they bring them. We take them over stuff all the time. And they have chickens that we don't. And they also have an orchard, apples, plums, and stuff like that we don't. We have a bigger garden than they do. So, we'll take them over some stuff. They bring us stuff, and it works out pretty well. But I like the idea, and my family loves the idea of having garden meals where everything comes from what you produce, with the exception of maybe like eggs, where we get from somebody else or something like that. I would love to get the animals going on, and that's definitely in the works. Depending on what else is going on with our situation as far as where we're going to be and stuff like that. But yeah, it's one of those things. It's vital about being well-rounded. And I like the way you're coming across as far as well-roundedness, because I see a lot of people that are what I call Amazon preppers. They just buy anything on Amazon. They don't know how to use it, stuff like that. So it's really good to be know how to grow your own food, know how to do the orchard aspect, which that's a definite gap in my knowledge because I don't know anything about trees. Then my neighbors did give me a couple plum trees. I don't know whoever's seen those videos, but it didn't transplant well. I've transplanted it in sun. I guess you're not supposed to. I learned my lesson. I did, however, put lots of water in there, but it wilted. So what I did is I cut it way back, and years to come, hopefully it'll do well. And there's two smaller ones. They're only about yay big, that are doing really well, but that would be years and years off.
How much property?
So yeah,
do you
knowing
have?
how to do that stuff. Oh, sorry, what?
No, I'm sorry. I was just asking how large is your property there, if you don't mind me asking.
We just have 1.2 acres.
Okay.
So it's it's not even an acre and a half.
No, it's the same as me.
And
I'm a little under an acre, so it's comparable.
okay, yeah, I do have room to grow, but like I've shown in lots of videos, the blackberries just take over everything. So my entire lower field that I could plant with crops or orchards is just grown over with blackberries. I do, however, like the security aspect of it because I know there's certain areas of my property that I don't have to worry about anybody coming through because my experience in the military and assessing vulnerabilities in security systems, I know that I was willing to go through basically anything. Put yourself in the worst, nastiest ditch, crawl up through the worst conditions to try to get into a location. But I'll tell you what, I am not crawling through those things. So I know that most security systems are a delay feature, meaning it's just going to slow somebody down. These blackberry bushes are so deep, so thick that they're actually denial feature, which is really good. But as far as okay, so yeah, you were growing up. Do you did all these things? Do you have any other background like medical, military, law enforcement, or anything like that, or is it all just you gaining the knowledge on your own?
It's me being mostly self-taught, except for going to those courses at tracker school. But that really, like it's when I was growing up reading that book, some of the skills I got, but other ones seemed like way too hardcore or like mystical or movie-like almost. Like there was no way I'd be able to do it, kind of thing. Only professionals that have done this their whole life and live in the mountains can do this. But going to the school and having somebody show you in front of you, like here, everything is so simple and it makes sense. And a light bulb went off my head. I'm like, I get it. I get all of it now. And that's all I needed. It's so different having somebody show it to you rather than watching it or reading it.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a long time ago for me, but same kind of situation. But I was SEER school in the military, SEER teaches you a lot. You know, that's what it is. About survival, evasion. That's another thing, though. That kind of throws in the aspect of you have to survive while you're evading. So it's more of a military application, and maybe not as in depth. I'm sure those schools that you went to that were specifically wilderness survival or bushcraft probably went a lot more in depth on that stuff and the longer term stuff. Whereas like the military aspect is basically just trying to get you to be able to survive and get the heck out of Dodge and evade capture and get you out of situations. So yeah, those schools are great. I highly recommend anybody get hands-on training, bushcraft schools, wilderness survival schools, tactical training. That's definitely one of those things. The tactical aspect of things that I don't really talk about here on YouTube because of the whole, you know, YouTube thing. But that is very important. Just because you have all the cool gear, and this applies to everything, bushcraft, prepping, tactical stuff, you have all the cool gear, you have all the cool things, you dress up all cool, doesn't mean that you're proficient. I would take probably somebody like you, I'd probably take you with a pocket knife, ferro rod, just those two things over some person that has a bunch of Gucci gear but doesn't know how to use it.
For sure. Yeah. So what yeah.
Yeah. So I guess just for the people out there, talk a little bit more about the school, I guess. Maybe a little more detail or something.
The school that I attended?
Yeah.
Tracker school.
Yeah.
I've looked into a lot of different survival schools, you know, like Dave Canterbury's Wilderness Outfitters and the one Cody Lundeen runs, and there's one in Vermont, and they're kind of all over now. They're just popping up left and right kind of everywhere. But the one that I went to, I think, is kind of different than the other ones. I didn't even know this going into it. I wanted to go to that school because the man that runs that school, Tom Brown, is the man whose book my dad gave me when I was 12. I always wanted to go to his school. That's why I went there. But what I found out when I got there is that whole school, it's not just survival and bushcraft, it's all wrapped around a North American philosophy and spiritual skill as well woven into it, which I think is a kind of a unique approach to it. And, you know, I also have a lot of that same philosophy. It all makes total sense to me. And, you know, when I went there, Tom, first lecture, Tom sit us down. There's about 100 people there. He sits down and he goes, your job is not to listen to what I tell you and believe it. Your job is to prove me right or prove me wrong. That's what he was looking for. He wants you to test everything, do it over and over and over again until you know that it works and you're efficient at it. And that's how you learn these skills, you know? And he was right. And to this day, whether it's a hard skill, a physical skill, or a spiritual skill, I can't prove the darn guy wrong. Every single thing that I do works, as long as I practice it enough, you know? So that's kind of what that is all about there.
All right. Yeah, that sounds good. While I'm messing with some things, is there anything else you'd like to talk about?
Yeah.
Actually, what about like? Okay, so one thing, like I mentioned to you, is you hadn't made a video in a little while on YouTube. So maybe talk a little bit about like what you're going to be doing with that, kind of like maybe the direction you're headed, or you know, that kind of stuff.
Okay, so when I began doing YouTube, a buddy of mine kind of pushed me into doing it, and I'd never thought of doing this before. I've always watched survival YouTube videos, and it would mostly be like me watching it and be like, "Oh, that's wrong," or "Why do you do it that way?" But it's easy to be watching a TV or a YouTube video and be like, "Oh, he's doing it wrong," you know, from an armchair, right?
Yes.
So it kind of felt like a jerk, but I'm like, no, I could seriously like teach that better. So my buddy, he was on HGTV, and he's a professional tiny house builder, cabin builder, treehouse builder. He has a pretty big YouTube channel, and he was like, dude, you've got to do this. And I talked to him picking our kids up at school every day, and he would be like, dude, and he like taught me how to do all of it or whatever. So he kind of talked me into doing it. And I started out slow. I was like, you know what? I'm going to start out with very simple stuff. Not going to get hardcore about any of it, and kind of gradually build things up. And also at the time, as I said before, my wife was not into any of this. Every time I'd be filming or posting something, I have to hear about it from her. And I didn't want to post anything, too crazy because she gave me a hard time. So if you look at about probably 5 years ago, the content of my videos took a jump. It got into a little more involved, a little more survival stuff. Me doing the 3-day survival outing with just 3 items with me, and the homesteading and stuff like that picked up. Like I said, once all this divorce and custody stuff is all wrapped up, and I feel free to do more and not have to worry about what I say, I'm going to go to the next level again, which is to go into a lot more hardcore prepping topics, homesteading, gardening stuff. But also, I make bows. I've been making bows effectively for about 11 years. I have probably about 30 bows that I've made here. Bow making and arrow making. I'm going to do flint knapping. All these primitive skills. I'm going to be doing more survival outings, starting with nothing, or just taking a knife, or sometimes I'll take just a knife, a ferro rod, and a water bottle. I've been building. I have 2 survival camps. One's that way and one's back there. I'm building a third one soon. One of them has a wigwam. The other one has a much larger shelter. I'm going to be doing a lot more filming there. But then I'm also going to be doing a lot more stuff with, pew-pews. I don't want to even say it, but you know what I'm talking about. Pew-pews and freedom seeds, right? And some tactical stuff, reloading and just all kinds of stuff. There's also another facet to the bushcraft and survival stuff, which is up a level, that they taught us at Tracker School, which is they call it the Scouts. And I don't mean like Cub Scouts or Boy Scouts. I mean Native American Scouts. So have you ever heard of the Native American Scouts before? Most people haven't. Most people have no idea what I'm talking about with this stuff.
As far as like a program, or just the fact that they like the historical aspect?
Historically, pretty much every tribe. Yeah. So like every tribe or most tribes have a secret society almost of the most highly trained hunters, and they would be the scouts. They would basically be the eyes and ears of their tribe that would protect their tribe against enemies nearby, and they would perform reconnaissance and bring intel back, and they would be in charge of all that stuff. And sometimes their own family didn't know that someone in their family was a scout. So they teach that at the school that I went to. So a lot of the stuff that I know and that I practice has to do with that level of training, where it's how to be invisible in the woods so nobody can find you, counter tracking, tracking skills, how to make fires that nobody can see, how to eat, and not have to cook your food, and just all that stuff. How to make underground invisible shelters called scout pits, like all that kind of really high level stuff that I haven't touched on at all on YouTube yet. That's what I really want to start getting into.
I think that would be really awesome to get into, because very few people know about that kind of stuff.
Right.
A lot of that stuff, like you were saying, keeping you on the down low, fires that don't, fire pits, as well as shelters and stuff that are hidden and or unseen. Those are great aspects for tactical aspects. There are a lot of skills that a lot of people don't really talk about, and it's kind of an area that I would have liked to. I've thought about doing more about also, but currently, right now, with my situation where I'm at and the time I have to do the videos and stuff like that, some of those things I just don't have the time for right now. But yeah, that would be really awesome. I would totally love to see what you got on those kind of things. Yeah, because a lot of what I've seen, I've watched, bushcraft, wilderness survival channels in the past, and they show a lot of good stuff. But sometimes it kind of seems like they're just doing it they're doing the things that look cool. You know what I mean? They're like building the shelters that look cool, which they're still functional. Yeah, they look cool, and then doing like the fire break, the firewall, doing the fire pits, just all the stuff that makes it look like this cool little fairy tale camp, that you can go survive in, and having more of the realistic and deeper stuff would be, a really good thing, I think, for YouTube and for your channel direction. I think that'd be sweet. I would love to see that.
Cool.
I'm hoping I did a couple other things, and it sounds like it might have helped a little bit, but I'm not sure. Gray, Gray Man Prepping. Please email me, Gray, and let's set up a time to have a phone chat. If you're available to help out, that'd be awesome. And then I can figure out this technical difficulty with the sound and be better in the future. Let me see. We got 50 minutes. Yeah, so we still got time. Actually, hey, let's if anybody has questions specifically, I'm gonna take a sec here and kind of scroll back through and see if there's any questions I think of specifically that anybody has for me or for Animal Man. Let me see. If you throw it in caps, it'll be easier to see for sure. I know somebody threw out Doomsday Preppers. Yeah. I guess since somebody mentioned that, I'll throw it out. I'll be honest. I got to be honest with you guys. When the show came out, I was so excited. I'm like, a show about what we do. Yes. I was so excited about it. And I watched it. And honestly, I loved it, but with a grain of salt. And you guys probably understand that a lot of that stuff was staged for the camera, it was all Hollywooded up and stuff like that. And that probably 99% of real preppers would never show that much on TV. With that being said, every episode, I would still pick up a good idea or two that would be helpful in preparedness. It's just some of them, like one of the biggest ones that I had a problem with that I thought was so funny. I was rolling on the floor laughing my butt off. Was the one where it was this big dude, very, very, very out of shape, living in. What's that?
With the guy in the bunker, right?
No, this was the guy that lived in Lakewood, Washington. And he was making homemade ceramic body armor from ceramic tiles from Home Depot, and then shooting with 410 birdshot and saying that it was good. Well, that's not good, first off. And then he said that him and his group they didn't prep much food because they were going to go take from others, and they were the apex predators. And I'm like, I rolled so hard. Okay, just so anybody out there doesn't know the topography of Washington, Lakewood, Washington is right outside Fort Lewis, home of the 3rd Ranger Regiment. A bunch of true American badasses that you're not the apex predator. Let me tell you. I was laughing so hard. I mean, they got striker battalions there. They got helicopters there. They got lots of infantry there. They got a lot of Rangers there. They got a lot of bad dudes there. And I'm sorry, dude, but yeah, you are not going to go take from others in that neighborhood, because the first Ranger's house you stumbled upon, you'd be in a body bag. Sorry.
I remember watching that episode too. That guy called his group the Marauders, right? He's like, we're the Marauders.
Yeah.
You know what though? In all honesty, like, I've had TV production companies reach out to me because of my YouTube channel, I think on 7 different occasions, and usually not in group. But
same here.
There's been 2 that I've actually spoken to because of the way they approached me, much more personable and stuff. So I spoke to them. One of them interviewed me and recorded it to make a sizzle reel to send to one of the big TV networks. And they kept on telling me to say, they're like, now say this, now say this. I'm like, I'm not saying that. Like, say you're prepping because of this. I'm like, I'm not saying that. They try to go, like, they tell you what to say to make it more extreme,
Yeah.
And the same with that Tuesday Prepper show, I'm sure, through the production and the director telling these people what to say and what to do, and also the magic of editing. They're trying to make it seem extreme and make them look kooky and whatnot. And I had a moment, like you said, watching that show where there was this lady throwing all of her stuff in a canoe or a John boat, and she was like, we're only taking the stuff that we need, the bare necessities, and she's throws a whole toilet seat in the canoe. I'm like, come on now. You gotta have your toilet seat.
Yeah, yeah, that was crazy. There are people out there of that mindset, though. It blows my mind that they think that they're going to go take from others, and they fail to realize, okay, so past military experience, and I know this to be true. So it doesn't matter how good you are, if you show up trying to take somebody's stuff, there's always luck. There's always Murphy's Law. I'll tell you what, there are members of SEAL teams, there are members of Ranger Regiment, there are members of Delta, Army Special Forces, almost every single unit out there that have been taken out by a little old farmer with a rusty bolt-action Mosin Nagant up in the mountains of Afghanistan. Not because he was tactically better, just because he got lucky. Maybe he saw them first. Whatever. It doesn't matter how bad you are or think you are. There's somebody tougher, stronger, better, or somebody that just gets lucky. So that is never.
Or in a larger group, outmanned or outgunned, right?
Exactly.
Another thing to think about too is like, okay, let's say you're trained in the military, right? They have a very specific way of doing things, probably. I'm not ex-military like you are, so just from what I've seen, and I have friends that have been in the military and stuff, they have very specific training, very specific way of doing things. And that's what they're used to. But what if you're going against somebody, let's say SHTF, and you're going against other people, you don't know who they are, what their training is. What if some of these people were in a gang? They do things a lot differently. You don't know what they've got up their sleeve or how they do things, and you may not be used to dealing with things at a left field that way. Or what if you have somebody like me, where I have all these wilderness skills, how to make yourself quiet and invisible, and someone's coming at you with a bow and arrow, and they're camouflaged in mud and leaves. Like, you just never know what someone's training is and how they do things differently. That's scary. Another scary thing that I think about also is like with prepping is, let's say something does happen and it's SHTF, full-blown SHTF. Losing my train of thought here. One of the things that scares me the most about that is parents. Anybody with kids. I'm not as worried about ex-military people or a lone wolf or someone in a big group. What scares me is a parent, because I know what I would do for my kids if I was that, in that bad of a way. I know what I would do, and I would kill for them. I would steal for them, and I don't want to have to do that, which is why I prep, because I'm protective. But because I know that, I think if you asked anybody, and if they're being honest with you and honest with themselves, would you kill if your kid was going to die of starvation, would you kill so your kid could survive? And I think any good parent, if they're being honest, the answer would, of course, be yes. That's the scary thing, I think if the answer is no, they're either lying to you or they're lying to themselves, to be honest.
Yeah, for sure. And that's one thing also, because of, the current climate and how YouTube is and stuff like that. Changing the way I kind of do things and taking off a lot of that stuff and putting the not politically correct stuff on Patreon. Along those lines, darn it. I just did it. Brain fart. No, I guess it's okay. Yeah, there's people. How do I say it?
Just say it, man.
Yeah. I know. I remember. Okay, I got it back. Train of thought returned. Okay, so on YouTube here, I am really concentrating on just doing, preparedness stuff, not the, tactical stuff that I do on Patreon. One reason is because I want to stay viable on this platform. I think it's really good because I do want to reach. I have my own faith beliefs. I have my own political beliefs. I have my own belief in moral structure, which I have my free will to do so. And so does everybody else. And I respect everybody's free will, even though we disagree on some things. I do, however, want to reach everybody I possibly can to get them into preparedness. Liberals, conservatives, to me, it doesn't really matter because, like I've said before in other videos, SHTF happens, a big event happens, whatever it may be, there will be no more liberals. There will be no more conservatives. There will be parents with starving kids coming for your stuff. Or there will be prepared parents that are able to feed their kids. Politics will be gone in a big event. I mean, yeah, it'll come back up, it'll return. Some of the belief structure may still be there. But in reality, we need to lift everybody, encourage everybody to be prepared because, I have good systems in place and I feel confident in my ability to do the best I can to defend what I have in my family. But there are things that can happen, and it's just no matter how well prepared you are. So I would prefer to have less people out there that are more likely to be a threat because they're not prepared. So let me see. Sheena's got a laser beam and she plays Austin Powers. Let me tell you, yeah.
Laser
Sorry,
beam.
I had to throw that out there. You get a shark with a laser beam?
Sharks with laser beams, yeah.
Yeah, like Mark Chase said, many German paratroopers got killed by the locals during World War II Nazi assault on Crete. Yeah, same kind of thing. There's been, so many examples of just basic people, farmers, everyday people defending their property, their home, their country, whatever, from threats. I mean, look at how our country was formed. Look at the resistance in France. There's so many examples. I can't even really go over that. That's not even something that I need to go, into. Imagine if roaming prepper says, imagine if people had the old civil defense, 2 weeks of food in case Russia attacked, but for general emergencies, people wouldn't freak. Yeah, that's true. And that's one thing that I have seen. Maybe I'll kind of turn it into a question instead of me just talking, is from what I've seen, the dynamic has changed where, like, my grandparents always had a root cellar full of food, canned goods, brew their own food, stuff like that. How society has changed? Maybe just talk a little bit about that.
It's scary to me that the majority of people are not self-reliant at all nowadays, and that's a very, very scary thing too, which is part of the reason why I want us to be as self-sufficient here as possible. Yeah, like if you think about like the Great Depression, even back then in the 30s, a lot of people, especially in the country, they were still largely self-sufficient. They had their gardens and their fields and their livestock, and they did canning and all kinds of stuff. And if something happened, you'd have to wait for someone to tell them something happened. Like they might not even know if you're doing things right. They might not even know. But now everyone is, glued to their smartphone and YouTube, and they're used to having electric and air conditioning in their cars, and it goes on and on and on and on, everything. And if something did happen now, it would be just so difficult. Just the psychological aspect of us being all used to comfort and having everything we want at all times now. If that goes away, people are going to lose their mind. And that's going to be a troubling thing also. People just dealing with that. I mean, forget about the food. People just dealing with not having their booze and their smokes and their social media, unplugging themselves all the time. That's going to be a big, big problem.
Mm-hmm. One thing, here's one. Frank Brown asked, is a Russian SKS good for SHTF, asking for options, but feel it's a forgotten gem? Hey, if it's what you got, sure, train with it. Whatever you have, train to the best of your ability. I mean, it's not optimal, but hey, if it's the only thing you can get or it's the only thing you have, then master it. It has its limitations. it has its positives and negatives, just like any platform. The reality is how well trained you are, and the terrain features around your area. If you're in an area like Kansas where you can shoot 50 miles and not, you know, you can see 50 miles out, well, that may not be the best. But if you're around here in Western Washington, where you're surrounded by woods, you're in a close environment, you know, that may work fairly well. And then let me see, that was oh, okay. And then GGG Farms asked, how has my COVID experience this last year changed how I prep? Honestly, it didn't really, other than the fact that it helped me realize, I guess, a little more reinforce to up my food production and add to my garden. But why don't you you can answer the same question. How did it change you at all?
Yeah, for me, I was, you know, as prepared as I am. And this is one of the things that, like, for years, specifically, I would tell my ex-wife, she'd be like, what is going to happen? I'm going to be like, there's too many people for there not to be a pandemic. There's going to be a pandemic at some point. And this is one of the things I've got to prepare for. And she told me flat out to my face, I was crazy. And here we are, you know, and as prepared as I am for this, when this happened, I was still in shock. And this went on for weeks. And I would just sit and listen to what was going on and everything. And I have a police scanner, listen to the police scanner, what was going on. And finally, when I kind of snapped out of it, I was like, okay, we've got to go harder on security here and storing food, and then also beefing up the garden and breeding the rabbits and the chickens. So that's kind of what started all that. Also now, whenever I go out to the store, if I go to Home Depot or something, and I'm going to get like chicken wire or plumbing supplies, because everything's automatically irrigated here. If I'm going to buy what I need, I buy a few extra, because I know what always breaks and what I'm going to need to repair, and I'm always buying extra of everything to have it in like back stock here in case they don't have it or in case I can't get to the store. So I've been doing that a lot with like everything. So I'm doing that differently now.
All right. Yeah, that's a good one. Frank Harris. Toilet paper, toilet paper, toilet paper, toilet paper. That was funny.
You know what? You know what I did when that whole toilet paper thing went down? I stopped using toilet paper. I made myself wipes, like 4x6 wipes out of fleece. And I wipe myself, throw it in a 5-gallon Home Depot bucket with a lid next to the toilet bowl. And when it gets full, I wash them, dry them, and I reuse them. And I did that for months. And you know what? I like it better than toilet paper, honestly. And you just keep on reusing them. And you don't have to worry about it. I mean, I think a lot of people, if you switch to do that, you might not ever want to use TP again, honestly. It's wonderful. It's softer. Yep. Less wipes. Not to be super graphic, but you might want to use brown fleece. That might be helpful.
Yeah, that's one thing is here as Americans in this country, we are so blessed by having plenty and having everything we could need. A lot of countries, they don't even have toilet paper. It's just not even really available. So yeah, they do things like that and other things, bidets and other, you know, there's lots of different things. But actually, little funny story. So, you know, being overseas for a period of time, getting used to how things are over there, and then coming back to the United States is such a culture shock, because I literally almost felt like walking out of the grocery store, because I was literally on system overload. My brain got used to fewer choices. That whenever I came back here and I go to the grocery stores here, my brain was just like freaking out. Oh my gosh, there's like 50 choices for every single thing, and there is, you know, and it's like most of the rest of the world is not like that. That's one thing we need to remember, how blessed we are here, and you know, but also how we're not impervious to things happening. Let me see. Okay, the roaming prepper, for a question for you. Animal Man Survivor, you're right. We deployed for Harvey in Houston. Did well, but still a lot of thievery and homeowner militias. People were panicked for dumb SHIT like cigarettes and phones. So yeah, have you ever checked out the roaming prepper before his channel?
No, I haven't heard that one. I can check that out after.
Yeah, he's got a good channel. I haven't watched too many of his videos yet either, but we're gonna also do a live stream sometime.
Awesome.
As well as if you have your gone Gray Man Preparedness.
I think I've heard of that one. I don't remember any specific videos, but I'm pretty sure I've seen some of his stuff.
He's an awesome dude. Yeah, he has this whole thing, the streaming and everything down to a science. He's really good at it. He has an introduction. He puts you in the like the waiting room, does the introduction, stuff like that, which I still have to figure out. So that's why I was talking about giving him a call and have him help me out with some of the questions. But if you before we leave here, actually right now, if you want to tell people an email that people can use to contact you like him, because he does a lot of live streams to different channels. I'm sure he's busy, but I'm sure he could fit you into his schedule. So if you want to throw out your email, then you guys can hook up maybe.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, my email is info@animalmansurvivor.com.
All right, info@animalmansurvivor.com. Got it. So anybody, especially Gray, if you can catch that. I think you're still around. I saw you earlier. Resident Tech Nerd. Yes, he is. He's awesome. I heard you guys. There's a bunch of chat about the SKS and stuff like that. It was so funny because, so when I first got into those bad evil things, that version of them were about 69, well, I think 59, 69, 79 bucks each. So I think I had like 10 or 12 of them at once, Russian ones, Chinese ones, all the things. When I first got into those bad, ugly things, I was into quantity over quality. Now I'm much more quality over quantity, but having enough things to do the things. And then also, in that regards, questions always come up with standardization, stuff like that. So I'm going to talk in very general terms. I like standardizing on NATO. Don't really want to go into depth about all that kind of stuff to get shut down here or an excuse to be censored. So I believe having those seeds available that are of common availability is, I guess, what I'll say. But anyway, let me see.
I agree with you about that. Yeah.
To me, and I like also makes things simpler. Also minimizing the number of different kinds you have. Just it makes it so much simpler. And I like, keep it simple, stupid. Let me see. Frank. Okay. Okay. Anyway, well, we've been about an hour and 12, so I'll just let you, if you have anything you want to say to the people out there, and then we'll kind of just put a lid on this, I guess.
Oh man, I don't know. I've been happy just kind of seeing where this takes us and where we go. It's totally unscripted, off the cuff. This is fun. By the way, I'm in my little bug out camper that I built right now. A little tiny camper. This has been like one of my pandemic projects that I'm mostly used recycled stuff. It's only 5x7. It's designed to be totally off grid to support 1 or 2 people. I plan on using this for hunting trips because I'm a hunter. But I got on Craigslist, I got a trailer for $50 that was 4x4, a tiny trailer. I taught myself how to weld during the pandemic, and I made the frame bigger, sheathed it with wood. It's got a solar system, water catchment, water filtration. I'm on a futon right now. It's set up like a couch, but it folds down. The whole inside becomes a bed. I have a wood stove that I built. Let me pick this up. I'll show you. I welded together a stove out of an ammo can over there, and it's got a battery bank and inverters and just all that good stuff. So
nice.
It's like a prototype, I'll use it hunting, make sure it all works great and everything. And if everything works, I'll consider buying like a 6x10 or 6x12 landscaping trailer and making a bigger one so the whole family can go out on a camping trip or whatever and use that for a bug out camper. But
Oh,
this is a fun project, you know, and it wasn't that expensive. It's nothing crazy to do. I think anybody could build something like this, and it's good to have, you know.
Yeah, and it's much more realistic than a $100,000 fifth wheel.
For sure. Yeah. And I do have, you know, I have the bug out plans. We have a mag. I know you talk about things like having a mag, a mutual assistance group. I have a mag. And I've got bug out bags, inch bags, bug out roof plan, all that, you know, hardcore prepping kind of stuff. I'm into all that stuff as well. And this little thing ties into that.
Yeah. All right.
I don't know.
Sounds good. Well, I guess, yeah, or if you're okay with wrapping it up, that's kind of the direction I'm headed.
Sure.
I like around an hour-ish, you know. After longer than that, the kids get, you know, restless and stuff like that. But yeah, thank you very much for being here. It was a lot of fun. And I apologize for people with sound issues. I'm going to be working with Gray, and we'll try to figure this out so that in the future we'll have those things nailed down, so we won't have any issues with that. But yeah, thank you very much for being here, Animal Man. And please, people, go to his channel, subscribe, check it out, comment on his videos, watch all of his stuff, and learn from this guy. This guy knows a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff like you talk about welding. I don't know anything about welding. So that's what's awesome about being involved and watching different channels, because we all have different skill sets. We all have something to offer. So check this guy out. And thank you guys for being here. I really appreciate it. Have a wonderful night. And email me, or sorry, Animal Man, please, yeah, email me, and we'll chat back and forth a little more. And have a wonderful night, guys. Blessings to you and yours.
Thanks, man.